All right, guys, here we are back again Monday, April 20th, and we got ourselves a little bit more time of quarantine before we're back next Friday. We will all be back as of right now, and we'll see if that does change during the week. Make sure you stay tuned to all the communication systems and everything that they've got built up during this time. We are going to continue on. Now, this does say the notes to start Unit 8. We kind of did Unit 8 in a little bit of a different trend. Wanted to make sure we got that project in to get a weekend to do it. So we switched a couple things around. But now we're going to talk about retirement and elderly care, as well as getting into a little bit about wills today for personal finance. So first off, planning for retirement, you want to have about 75 to 85% of your pre-retirement income. Now, the reason we don't need that 10 to 15%, we're generally not traveling as much, so you're not usually going to work. You generally don't have that as much upkeep with any kind of vehicle. Sometimes you don't even have a vehicle at all because you can't drive. Some obviously elderly people do have their licenses suspended or taken away if there are excessive accidents or things like that. Sometimes the family can step in, but obviously we've got that as well. And then generally you've hopefully owned your house or are owning where you're living at that point in time. If you're not, then you really don't need to rent anything more than really just a one bedroom, maybe a two bedroom apartment, which hopefully not going to be very expensive and not going to need as much of that income that you're not going to be generating as much because you're retired, you're not working. So as you go forward, there's going to be pros and cons to both sides. Scroll a little bit there. Going to be pros and cons to both sides. Obviously, if the kids leave and you're older and you've got a large property, that's going to be an issue. You're going to have to either pay somebody to come and take care of it, or that is going to be something which may necessitate selling the house that you've got for the living that you've been having for the family as you've been going. But now, taking a look at if you've got the house sold. So we're seeing here married couples can sell a house that they've lived in for more than 2 years and not have to pay any of the taxes on the profit. Now, again, we're not talking about the mortgage. Still going to pay off the mortgage and any taxes that do incur with that. Generally not going to have very much with paying off the mortgage. It would be the profit here that you're getting. But the reason for the 2 years is just so people can't go live in a house for a year, flip it, get a quick 30K, go live in another house for a year, flip it. Now, yeah, can you do that for 2.5 years, get a quick, money grab out of that? Yes. But generally that's not going to feel as profitable or as efficient for you if you're doing that, every 2.5 or 3 years. But as you can see, you're not paying on the taxes up to 500. It's easily cut in half. They don't penalize you for being single. They don't give you any kind of profit for being in a married relationship like they do in some other cases. But notice here, if there is a mortgage on the property and the owner dies, then the house must be paid off before it can be sold. So if you sell the house, any profit that is made over what is left on the mortgage, you do get to keep, but you have to pay the mortgage off first before you get any of that money. So you can't just decide that, it was in that person's name, they're dead now, I'm not going to pay it off, so we don't have to worry about it. No, you still have to pay the mortgage off if there is one on it, even if it's not yours. That's what we talked about. We talked about a lien against a house. That's basically what we're talking about here. But if the mortgage is paid off, or if you sell it for more than the mortgage, you're good. Now, if you sell it for less than the mortgage, you got to find the money to obviously get that paid off, because that's going to be an issue. They will then go for next of kin, next in the estate, whoever that is. And unfortunately, it would become something where it become next person who would own it if it doesn't go to the bank. Most of the time, if not 99.99% of the time, there's not going to be a transition of property. It's going to go to the bank. The bank's going to pay it off, eat it, and then they'll sell it and try to make that profit back when they sell it. But if you do have the house now we're not talking about if we sold the house. We're going to talk about really quick the concept of the reverse mortgage here. Basically, like we've been doing in Mimic, we've been paying every week on now the car that you've got, on the house that you've got, even on the student loans since we've even started, we've been paying on those. Now, the amount that you have paid in is the equity that you've built up, the amount that you've paid off of the principal. Not everything, because like we've talked about, some of these payments go towards interest, some go towards the principal. So the part that goes towards the interest does not get it borrowed against. You don't get that back. That's the free money they're making, remember. for giving you this large sum. But you do get to make money on the principal, or borrow money on the principal that you have paid off. You'll get that back, as you can see, in a loan and payments, and it's going to be until the payments and interest are equal to the amount of equity you've given out. So just because you are borrowing necessarily $2,000 does not mean you're necessarily going to get $2,000, or if you do need to get $2,000, you're not necessarily taking that out in a reverse mortgage. You're going to be taking out a little bit more because there is the interest that's going to get charged. So just understanding that. We don't really want to do reverse mortgages. It's not very good for you. You've paid that money off. It's already been charged interest. Now you're getting to charge interest on it again as you pay it back again. It really is not good, and really is something you only want to use for those, crazy situations where you absolutely need the money and you have nowhere else to go. And then just a little bit of vocab there. An heir is just a person who will inherit the property if somebody does pass and leave it to them. Most of us know what an heir is, though. So, but just having it in there. And remember, it is heir, not hair. Hair is what's on the top of our head, not what is going to be getting the mansion when grandma passes. So when it comes to insurance needs when we're older, like we talked about, we're not going to have a job when you're retired. So that insurance that you've been getting through your job and through that full-time employment is not there, because they're not going to keep giving you insurance after you've stopped working for them. So now you're going to generally get Medicare. Medicare is that government insurance for people who are 65 or older. As you see, there are certain conditions. If you're receiving disability or you have end-stage renal disease, which is terminal illness, you can get that insurance earlier than 65. But obviously, there are those characteristics or those qualifiers you have to hit. Social Security, though, that's the program that pays out income that we've been basically paying into our whole lives. Now, there is a lot of talk that Social Security will not necessarily be there when people even my age are getting to that retirement age. But what I will say, do not necessarily bank on Social Security. Have another form of retirement with ones we've talked about and other things that we've gone through in this class. Don't bank on Social Security, because it is not something to focus on for providing all of the necessities of life that you will have. It's just going to be supplemental income. Now, when you go and you are looking at estate planning, with estate planning, we're just talking about the wills, and the estate is basically just everything you own. So the executor is the one who carries out the will. So it's somebody generally in the family. It could be a lawyer as well, but it's generally going to be somebody in the family who is going to carry out the wishes of whoever wrote the will upon their passing. The testator is the person who wrote the will. You have to be 18 years old and of sound mind, and we've talked about sound mind and what that means. You can't be under the influence of anything. You cannot be insane or not of straight thinking, coherent thinking, as we've talked about. And then the codicil is the amendment to the will, and a will cannot be amended without one of these. So you can't just say, oops, I made a mistake, a month later, and cross something out and say, instead of wanting to leave $20,000 for them, you want to leave $25,000. You have to file a codicil to do that. It must be on file. There must be something that a lawyer can see and that the courts can see to understand that this happened. Because obviously, after somebody passes, it would be very easy for somebody to go and cross something out and fake a signature or something like that. I'm sure nobody here is forged, or anybody who's watching this has forged a signature. We don't do that. But with that being said, that is just basically a safety for the person who writes the will, to make sure that nothing can be changed afterwards that they wouldn't want changed. Now, wills must be notarized to be valid, and basically, like we talked about with notarization, a notary is somebody who is a government official who witnesses something being either signed or written or perform a ceremony being done, and then stamps their basically seal of approval saying, yes, this happened, this is valid. It must be notarized. The will must be notarized for it to be valid. So intestate is a person who dies that doesn't have a will. In that scenario, we do have laws in states, depending on what state you're in and what state the person's items are in, that will then just fall upon what the state law mandates. Now, Generally, you don't want to let that happen, but the good news is it is very black and white in most states, and it will be very much that here, this person gets this person gets that. Those are our laws. We're sorry they didn't have a will. And then, as it says, if there's anything left over that they really don't have laws for, or that people don't claim, the property will go to the state, and the state will do with it what they wish, whether it's donated, sell it, whatever. But taking a look at some of other tools that we've got, the trust is the legal document where the trustor is giving somebody something. Now, it's basically generally for when they're giving somebody something that they can't use just yet, or obviously when something happens. The trust can be made while you are alive. That's basically a living will when you trust somebody to something. Most of the time we hear about it as a trust fund, something that a family will invest in, and then when a son or a daughter is 18 or 21 or graduates college or whatever the scenario is with it, they will get the money. Then that's generally what we know of as a trust, but a trust can be done with anything, an item, money, whatever you like. But that's basically the concept that we're looking at there. Now, power of attorney is what we were talking about with P of A there, and joint ownership. Now, joint ownership is when two people own the single piece of property 50-50. When one person does pass, the other person gets it. The other person gets full ownership of it. Generally, that's what most things go to. There is joint tenancy. Now, when you have joint tenancy, the difference there is that half that person owned is now going to somebody else. It's not going to be now full ownership going to the next person. That'll be generally joint tenancy with businesses, business property, things like that. Joint ownership is generally what you'll see with your houses, cars, all of that sort of stuff. Power of attorney is just what you give somebody for them to legally act on your behalf. And all that is that's going to be basically them saying, yep, we will take care of this court filing for you, or take care of this estate for you, or this will, or, it can be for basically anything that goes through the court system. So that way, if, you're in Washington in college and there's a, suit here in South Carolina against you, you can give somebody power of attorney to show up on your behalf so you don't have to show up. The issue that you can run into is if you don't like how they take care of it, that's too bad, because you gave them power of attorney and that now is their job. And what they do is you basically have said they are of sound mind. They know what they're doing. They're going to take care of this the way that I want them to. And if they don't, there's really not much you can do in that scenario. Now, going to the next slide that you're looking at, taxation of the estates. The federal estate tax is taxes paid on transferring to heirs. So just because you are inheriting something does not mean the government's not going to get their piece. You are going to pay a tax on that. The inheritance tax there as well. Estate taxes are taken out of the estate before it is distributed. The inheritance taxes are paid once you get it. So like I said, the government's going to get their piece. We all know that. Now, some people try to use this gift tax when, trying to maybe distribute some of the estate's funds before a person who controls it has passed. Trying to find the best way to put that. But a gift tax is something that you can gift money, as you can see, $15,000 per year, without paying taxes on it. So people who are in your estate can receive this $15,000 and there are no taxes paid upon it. The issue then becomes, though, if they die within 3 years of giving you that tax, you do have to pay taxes on that. It is considered a gift in contemplation of death. And basically the government saying, if you know that you are, for example, terminally ill and something is going to be happening, you cannot just start giving your money away to everybody without the government getting their share. So, and then the income taxes, that's when we all pay. When someone dies, all the income taxes for the year have to be paid that they've got, if they have income taxes. Now, they don't always have income taxes, but if they do, all taxes must be paid before the estate is split. And then with your assignment today, you're going to be looking up some elderly care options. Now, there's plenty of options for help with senior care. The care can range from them coming to your house to, your grandfather or grandmother going to a facility and living there. So just understand that your insurances, most of the time, and if not all the time, will not fully pay for these. They will not fully kick in until the estate has no money left. So that's where that gift in contemplation of death and that gift tax start coming into play, because what people start to realize is if they are not paying for these out of the estate and all of the funds that are going to be given and willed to all of the people in the family, until all that money is dried up, insurance does not kick in. So that generally becomes the issue. Now, obviously there are ways to put that money away in funds that can't be touched, and then the estate doesn't have any real money, so then the insurance will kick in. But unfortunately, you have to kind of plan for that and know what you're doing and as it's coming up. So that is the one caveat that we always try to tell people about. Make sure that you've got those preparations ready, or you've got those funds somewhere where the government cannot touch it, because they will make you spend all of it before Medicare and all the other insurances will kick in and fully pay for any kind of really decent health care, because that's really all you'll really see. Now, taking a look at the assignment for today, let me pull that one up. And that's going to be where we're looking at here. Now, you're going to have, let's first go to the questions. We got 7 different kinds of care here. So assisted living, independent living within communities, memory care, senior apartment, nursing homes, residential care, home care. All of those, some of those will have things that are similar. Now, there is a website here you can go to. You can use your own websites you like. It's not going to be specifically looking for the answers on here. But what you're looking for is going to be where the resident will be, so whether they'll be at home or at a facility, and then 4 different characteristics of that type. Now, when we talk about characteristics, they can be very, very general. They can be very specific. It can range from services that they provide, what makes one different than the other. I will tell you things like independent living communities will be very different from home care, because one of them you're going to be living in a community. One of them you will be at home. So those will be some of the different characteristics. Some will, like we've talked about, have the care come to you. Some will be places you go every twice a week or 3 times a week. There's a lot of different options out there. So 4 characteristics of that type. Again, some of them will be the same characteristics. Some of them will be slightly different. So, just looking for things that make them what they are. And with those, just look at the ads. Look at what they advertise to you, because they are trying to sell themselves to you, because obviously the more people they take care of, the more money they make. And that's what makes the world go round. Now, and then the last place is, what are the possible payment sources? So some of them don't take insurance. Some of them must be paid out of pocket. Some of them will take insurance and allow you to split the costs. So what I want you to look for in that is just what are the different payment options that they offer. And again, these are businesses. They will advertise those on their websites very, very easily, because they want your business. And then there are just a couple of different questions down here. What is the most expensive type of care? Why do you think so? Make sure you answer both of those. Number 9, when getting ready to prepare for retirement, what do you think is going to be your top priority? Because again, we've talked about it. Yours are going to be different, what you will prioritize. And then that's just really talking about, do you want to be living at home? Do you want to be living with other people your age? Do you want people taking care of you? Do you want someone just coming once a day and maybe doing a little bit here and there and then leaving? What are you going to want? And then number 10, if you were to retire, what type of care would you like your family to provide for you? Very similar to number 9. And again, basically the real one with number 10 is that if money was not an issue. Because number 9 probably should be thinking a little bit about money as well. But with number 10, obviously, if money's not an issue, what would you like the most and why? So with that, that is going to be it. Actually, let's go. We do have one more thing to do before we get out of here. Let's do Life Happens for today. Hopefully going up here. Stick with that. Yep, perfect. Got 3 people from period 1 today, 4 from period 2. And again, redraws taken if the hit to your account is $500 or more. We really don't have very many weeks, probably about 4 or 5 weeks left in this one. So, unfortunately, wish this one could have been played a little bit more. But obviously, when we are not in school, it is going to make it a little difficult. Let's try to get Life Happens a little centered right here for you. We will start a new game as it is a new week. And period 1, Christopher. Potluck Friday, $40 to the checking account. Not bad. Make sure that you can see who it is. Yes, there we go. All right. That is number 1. Second person today, Cade. Wanted just alive, $500 to your checking account. You do have a redraw, so we'll use it for you. And prescriptions are expensive. $200 be added to your monthly budget. That one's going to hurt. Not a good redraw there. Third one up. And last one for period 1. Andrew, don't text and drive. $1,500, but you got a redraw, so we will use it. Oh, that's a bad one. We've seen that one before. The Great Outdoors. $1,500 turned into $2,500. Not a good day for that one. Now going to period 2. We'll get 4 people from today for Life Happens. Alan, going to be the first one up. Acupuncture feels great. $75 taken out of your account. Not bad. Tyler up, second one. Painting the house. Your house is ugly. You got to paint it. No redraws. $600 taken out for that one. Number 3, Corbin. Pests are out of control. We'll let Corbin take that one. And then Andrew, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. $300 added to your checking account. And that is going to end it for today. So, like we said, you've got an assignment. That assignment is going to be not tonight, but tomorrow night at midnight going to be due. If you have any questions, let me know, and we'll get the next video out tomorrow. Now we've got, I think, 2 more notes sections in Unit 8 before we're done with that one. So with that, have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow. And that is it.